And now you start.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine.
Wait, not yet.
Oh, good. Are you okay?
All right. And you guys be wonderful audience members and be sure to ask questions. Yes, you have to.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine. If I mention, oh, hold on. If I mention sex trafficking, most of us here today would be very aware of what I was talking about. Although we are very aware of sex trafficking, many of us may not know about how bad sex trafficking is in Haiti. In the picture above, you see the beds, which they aren't really beds, they're just a little sheet, like, and they have a cover and what I guess you could call a pillow, which it isn't much. And then you see the two children in the cages, the two little boys. Um, it seems the sheet is a thin cushion pad. In the second picture, we see the two boys who are locked in the cell. To many of us, sex trafficking is important because we have never personally been a victim or had a family member who has ever been a victim of sex trafficking. The history of sex trafficking in Haiti goes back many decades and has been around before many of us today here were born. The Haitian people of Haiti have encountered many hardships over the years, but one of the hardships the Haitian people still go through is modern day slavery, which is sex trafficking in kids, women, and men. In this picture, it's a graph. I'll give the overview. Oh, sorry. I'll give the overview of the anti-trafficking law. I will discuss which people are targeted in Haiti for the most sex trafficking, and lastly, I will discuss who protects children from sex trafficking in Haiti. Let's start with an overview of the history of sex trafficking in Haiti. Sex trafficking became a major issue in Haiti around 2010, which is 11 years ago. In Haiti, the government passed a law in 2014. The law that was passed was the anti-trafficking law. That law is meant for the criminalized traffickers to be punished and put in prison to serve up to 15 years if being caught trafficking. According to the U.S. Department of the State, the anti-trafficking law states that you will have a jail sentence of a minimum of 7 years or a maximum of 15 years. The fine for this offense ranges from $2,000 to $1.5 million. Um, the Haitian government enforced a law that was increased prices for charges, which is life of imprisonment in prison if the victim is comes forward and tells the police officer who did this crime to them, and they can go find the person, like if they have a picture of the person or can describe what the person looks like. During the period of the law being passed, the government found 9 cases which involved 17 people. The Haitian Border Police arrested 55 people who they expected to be traffickers, and the government used a screening protocol to work with the International Agency to investigate unoccupied children to the government social welfare agency. The Haitian government also failed to prosecute many cases for the crimes of the human traffickers in 2019. The government did not provide any funding to trafficking groups or the group victims of the crimes. Haitian sex trafficking victims do not get much attention from their government. The government often fails to arrest criminals for the unlawful act of trafficking. Criminals of sex trafficking usually can get away with the crime they are committing because the police department fails to arrest them. The government or police department do little or nothing to help the people of Haiti who are the victims of sex trafficking. In 2017, the Haitian Police Department dropped the charges against the police officer for trafficking victims. Unfortunately, Haitians still have serious issues with human trafficking over a decade since the major spike in sex trafficking. Who are being trafficked? Haiti has an extreme problem with children, women, and males being trafficked in their country. According to Jennifer Kimball's In the Human Trafficking, Haiti and the Environment, published on December 2011, Children are forced to work and are abused and neglected. She also states that not only are children trafficked, men and women are also trafficked. Additionally, the minors and men, the women, all people, it can be anybody from a toddler to a grown man or woman. They can be trafficked into, and they are the persons who are usually trafficked are poor people, sorry, or people who are vulnerable in society's more racial ethnic minors. Who protects the children? Lastly, because many people are at risk of becoming victims of sex trafficking in Haiti, there are shelters for people to go to, such as children. In Haiti, there's a church shelter that provides for children who potentially are being trafficked, and they are a religious group of nuns. They're two ladies, and they started this about 22 years ago, but it wasn't really big until more people had became trafficked during after the earthquake in Haiti. And despite all the hardships the citizens of Haiti have endured over the years and still today, there are plenty of shelters available to protect from sex trafficking. There are also laws to prevent sex trafficking, which is great for the citizens of Haiti. The history of sex trafficking in Haiti has impacted the country tremendously. Over the years, the victims of sex trafficking have gotten justice to the justice that they deserve for the terrible events that have occurred to them. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes. Yeah, it was a lot of more cases where the police were being trafficked, but this police officer who I mentioned, he was like higher in the police force, so he could was let's see, he was the I don't know what the name is for, but he was higher than everybody, so he got penalized more because he is looked at as this character who isn't supposed to be doing stuff like this. Are there any more questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent. See? That wasn't so bad.
Actually,
Was not so bad. Okay, hold on. I have to stop
okay, what's up?
and start. All right, so let me go in here.
Yeah.
And hold on, we're gonna stop the recording.